Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on August 16th. No, that was wrong. Well, we can't do that again. So, it's August 18th, 2022 at approximately 3:34 a.m. PST. So, figured, I started off talking about claiming power over your life, getting back in track, that sort of thing. Okay, now how do you stay focused on that? Well, I'm probably the last person to talk to, but I figured the fire alarm went off this morning, so what the heck? Might just well get up and get something done. The real catch to it is this. In order to really stay focused on moving ahead, get an idea in place of what you're aiming for. Okay. The idea here is stay focused on your own prosperity. Now, this simply boils down to picking which direction you're going to go with your life and making sure you break it down into smaller tasks. Now, of course, in my case, I have a tendency to get way too many things on the go. I was looking for part of a project. Oh, I was looking for part of a writing of one of the books I've been writing. Actually, book 7 in the Yldrbac Chronicles. I was looking for a section that puts the primary characters up in orbit. And in book 7, the primary character at the time, in book 7, which I'm just trying to think here, which is probably not a good idea at this hour of the morning, but I figured I woke up, I might just well look at it that way. Book 7, where are we? Here we are. Now, book 7, what is the working title for it? All the way up to the beginning. I haven't got a working title, so that's okay. Oh, book 7 should be working title The Arrival, which is when the off-worlders and the ancient races come back to the surface. Well, I knew I was looking for a section that had the space station in it. Only I couldn't remember if I had originally put it in book 8 or in book 7. As it turns out, the space station, the research station that Jeremiah ends up in, which, needless to say, if he's in book 7 and book 8, he takes on that name pretty quickly. Wonder if that was where I gotta go back into book 6 now. Now, this is one of the things about staying focused. I don't necessarily. Is book 6 up and running? No. So let's move that out of the way. We can minimize this one. And then we go here. Yeah, I'm leaning in because I can't see. Even at 6 o'clock in the morning, I can't see well. So what do we got here? Book 3. I do not like that. So pardon my face being up to the thing, but I think that's book 6 there. No, that's book 5. Book 4, 8, 9. Okay. Gives you an idea how well my eyes work, doesn't it? There it is. So book 6 we have to take a look at and see what we popped up on. Gonna have to take a look at that and figure out where it's starting. So what is at the beginning of book 7? This is what happens at 3:30 in the morning. Trying to get my head on straight, get things organized. Let us see here. Oh, okay. Well, we change that and take the name out of it altogether and carry on with it. But that's okay. We'll find out where he fits afterwards. So give me half a second, because I have to do that too. But I can do that on the back there. See, I'm looking at this going, at the beginning of book 7 here, I've got a new name coming out. And, that's got to go halfway through. Okay. Going to have to change Jeremiah's name into the middle of it, after the first few chapters, with Bartholomew being here, which is another name he goes by. Bear in mind, a lot of the time with the birth of the Wolfpack, like with the Yldrbac Chronicles, some of the characters start off as one thing, and then because I cover the past life issue, they end up changing names. And Bartholomew has a little bit of a run here, so somewhere in the middle of this, let us see. Okay, that's that's chapter 7. So what goes on before that? Go way back here to chapter 6. Oh, that's chapter 4. And Bartholomew is there in chapter 5. Oh, well, that's an interesting setup. Is that chapter 4? That's chapter 4. So we have to take a look, and from 4 we go, there's chapter 5. And then we have to come in and see what happens as far as that goes. So, anyway, when you're looking at staying focused, oddly enough, I happen to be just simply talking about what I'm going through at this point. But when we're talking about maintaining focus on your prosperity, I've run into a lot of complications with the distribution right now. But you literally, this fine thing called list. Okay. For me, it's extremely important. Okay. So I'm just putting a list together of the different things I have to deal with, just to make sure that they get covered. But you take a look at what is going on in your life and go, are you heading in the way you desire things to go? If things are not moving in the right way, or if there's something holding you back and you can identify it, that's what you start with, focusing on shifting the energy around. Now, I was doing some editing yesterday, just to give you an idea. And we came across a couple of things I have to double check for continuity's sake. Right? And again, even in your own life, the one thing you will find is if you stay focused, or more to the point, when you stay focused, continuity is absolutely a requirement to make sure you stay focused. The reason being, emotions can take you in all sorts of directions in a very, very haphazard way. So I made some real quick notes for myself yesterday when I was doing the editing. And now I'm just transferring them onto this sheet to make sure I do them, to make sure they get done today. Okay. The Dragon Clawed Staff syntax. What that boils down to from a writing standpoint, bear in mind, I'm writing 12 novels at the same time that are all interlocked. Ain't that interesting? Here I am, I got my window open, it is 3:45 in the morning, and we've already got people resurfacing. And an hour ago, the fire alarm went off, so that's why we ended up at this point. Did we not? Oh, we forgot to do something very important here. Take that up out of the way. We shrink that. That's book 6, which can be shrunk down for a moment. And we forgot to test to see whether we're actually even being heard. So, call that up and now we'll find out. Boy, talk about being behind schedule on that one. By the way, in case you hadn't noticed, focus at 3 o'clock in the morning is not necessarily my strong suit. But I figured what ended up happening was the fire alarm went off at 2:30 in the morning. So it's like, okay, well, I guess we're up. And so here we are. And since I still haven't got the non-existent camera listed as existent yet, well, this is taking forever and a day to actually bring it up online. Anyway, while it does that, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm actually getting... Oh, whoa. Good morning, Dogface. Glad to see you. Well, we're having fun. Apparently not, but... apparently things are not running all that well. See, here's the thing, Dogface Boy. I don't know how long I'll be here. Oh, look, we're reconnected. Wasn't actually planning on being on at all, but I ran into an interesting problem. The fire alarm went off, so here I am. But I figured I'm here. I might just as well see about getting this posted. And of course, I'm trying to talk about focus, and that ain't working that well. Still waiting for... oh, what do we got here? Okay, let's try and refresh that and see if that works. Refresh. See, even my computer's arguing with me. Okay. Oh, okay, probably a little quiet then. So we take a look at this and see about bringing the noise level up. So we take a look at this. Okay, that's better. So we take a look at this. Okay, that's better. That's funny. That is absolutely funny, the Dogface Boy. You know, funny part is, I mean, is it an idea? Yeah, it's attached to the roof, and I live in an apartment. Mind you, I don't panic where it comes to fire. But I figured the fire alarm went off, so I ended up at 2:30. I'm like, well, I can't run 2 hours. As it turns out, running 4 hours straight of talking, because what was happening is I was coming on live and I was on here for 2 hours, then doing the horoscopes and doing the dictating horoscopes for 2 hours. Wasn't working well. Now, I remember years ago, I was still married at the time. And my alarm went off. I'm sitting laying in bed. And all I get on the window is bang, 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 bang. Get up, get up. I says, keep your pants on. I'm coming. He says, your house is on fire. I says, fine, I'll put my pants on. So I put I get dressed, shake my wife's shoulder. I says, dear, you might want to get up. Why? What time is it? It says 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, why do I want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning? I says, because the house is on fire. I'll tell you, she came out of bed in a hurry. But I get outside, we're working on the fire simply with a garden hose at the time. I looked at the cop and I says, you know what really ticks me off about this? And he looks at me really dumbfounded. He goes, because somebody lit your house on fire? I says, no. He says, what do you mean, no? I says, well, technically, it's not my house. I says, yeah, I live in it, but I don't own the thing. He says, then what would be upsetting about it? I says, whoever the genius was that lit the house on fire didn't warn me ahead of time so I could actually get the wieners out of the freezer. He goes, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, your house is on fire, and you're worried about wieners? I says, well, it's a waste of a perfectly good fire. Right. This is just the amount of panic that I go through, in case you hadn't noticed. I didn't think it was really that funny, but thanks. There's a t-shirt that says it all for me. There's a t-shirt that says, that thing in your head that most people have that says, you shouldn't say that? Mine's broken. Or doesn't exist, I'm not sure which. What do we are? Okay, these are just little notes that I have to check through on the Yldrbac Chronicles, just to make sure everything fits right. That it's all contained, that it's all the same style writing through all 12 books in this series. But when you're looking at having a prosperous life, okay, you absolutely have to have an idea of what you're not content with. And this is why when I'm going through editing, if I've got a problem, I make absolutely certain that I make a note of it to go back and look through it. Because of course, when I'm going back and checking, yes, I'm checking book 12, which is what I'm writing right now. But I have to go back and look at the 2 that I've already printed, because they will end up eventually getting a second printing. But the reality behind it is that I've got to go through in order to make certain that I do stay on track. That 17 was yesterday. Yeah, it turns out I went down and checked my mail today. Turns out I've got a package, and I've got 1 and 2 that I'm waiting for. So again, put that on my list to make sure I go down. My list, I recommend very strongly that you turn around, that when you're working on a list of what you've got to do, have 3 things on the list. Okay. All of them only 15-minute to half-hour length. In my case, I tend to have a lot more, but you work with it. Now, right now, I've got my office working right, which is the important factor to start with. Okay, I forgot this thing. This one I'm just going to go put away right now. Primarily because I desire to. Remember what I mentioned about making sure you don't put things off? I used to be an absolute professional procrastinator. Okay, as in never do what you can put off. So now what I'm doing is I get started with it, and I'll go, okay, I've got to deal with that. And because I know I've got to deal with it, I get it done right away. And then I don't have to deal with it anymore. Oh, okay. Well, that was just information I had to make sure I knew what I was looking at. Now, I've already looked at my finances this morning, which again, let's bring that down so I'm not looking at the top of the... There we go. That's much better. The way I look at it, you take a look at what your goal is. Okay. If it is keeping your office organized, then it's absolutely imperative that you have an idea of what that looks like. Because quite frankly, if you don't know what organized looks like, you're going to run into a problem. Bear in mind, I am not the one to tell you if it's organized for you. For me, it's real simple. I keep my writing. I've got enough room to write. I've got enough room to just put a pad of paper here. I call it a pad. It's usually a stack of loose pages. Right. If I take that stack and I've got a spot on my desk that I can write on, that's the only writing room I've got. Because the rest of it is all done. And this is all computer up here. Okay, not bad for somebody that's absolutely technologically challenged. But you get an idea of what you're aiming for and get it marked down so you can track things off. Now, this is the other thing. I've got these neat little business cards of people that I've decided I have to get in touch with. When I went away for my reunion, I made contact with a couple of authors. So what I'm looking at is making sure that I get these emails out today. Because the way I figure it, my success where it comes to sales is going to rely on being in touch with people, on actually having contact. And right now, the so-called professionals are just about useless. The person doing my website, on the other hand, has been pretty much on the ball. But the company they have to deal with has been totally unresponsive. Not surprising. Big company, no response time. Well, I will be right back. I'm on the air. Okay. Welcome to the way my world goes. Figuring, when things happen in the house, you've got to deal with it. The fact I'm live is quite honestly, okay. You have a great day there, Dogface. Hope your day is going well. No, my day can get very, very hectic, as it were. So apparently today's going to be a little scrambled. This is just the people I have to email today. I'm just making a list to make sure I get to them. Who is this? Okay. And I'm on my own, which makes sense. Let's face it. At 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, who's supposed to be up? Pretty much everybody should be asleep at this point, but of course, on the other side of the world, not so much. And anyway, when you're starting to move forward, you go through things one step at a time. Okay, get your list together, because that way you can check things off and be absolutely certain that you're getting things done. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be a little on the short side. It's just I have to be up, so I figured, what the heck. So I will be working on, let's see. Today I'll be working on book 12, book 7, and book 8. Book 1, I have to get, of course, the Yeah, I'm ending up with a very long list. Of course, when I get up, I won't be back on to go live right away here. I may go on live later this afternoon, but this is just a list of the stuff I've got to get dealt with. Where is my list? I think put it on the back there. There we are. Have to get the description for my artist down in Texas. And get those sent off so I can get them dealt with. I'm still like as far as the one company goes, I'm relying on them getting a hold of me. Well, I haven't heard from them effectively in quite seriously over a month now. I thought it was a month and a half, but as it turns out, it was only a month. But that is still appalling when you tell them it's an urgent issue. So I'm not exactly expecting a whole lot. So what I'm looking for now is I've already put my executive assistant to on the track of looking into the copyright material, copyright information to make sure I've got the solid paperwork in my hand that says, yeah, these are all absolutely copyrighted on my end. Okay, it's just a question for me of making sure I've got everything I require. But we'll see what happens. Let's just see what this does. That's probably the way I'm going to end up getting it. So, what this do? It ought to be an interesting side of it. No, not copywriter. There we go. Just typing into Google the copyright owner of Yldrbac. Let's see what that pops up, or if it pops up. No, I didn't. Okay, now unless I miss my guess, I'm going to have to figure out now. I definitely need to look into this because according to this, they may have absolutely scrambled everything. Because I'm looking at this and seeing whether or not the copyright is in my name, and by the look of this, it's not, which is going to set me off to no end. I'm looking at this, and all I did was looked up copyright owner of Yldrbac, which is my book. Only by the look of this, they've absolutely botched that as well, which is not going to impress me in the slightest. Let us see what that pops up. Okay. No, interest rates. That's what we need. Intriguing. Okay, let's try the other one now. If we go back, let us do this. Author name. See what that pops. Okay, this is not what I was expecting to have to deal with. That kind of makes sense. So it looks like I've got an even bigger problem to sort out. Where is what I was looking at here? Not that one. That's not a problem. Now we go back over here. Pull out this information. Turns out, if this is in fact what I found, turns out that the copyright on what I've been writing may well be put in somebody else's name. And if it is, then I've got a heck of a mess on my hands. This is what I get for trusting people. This is why I don't. Now, that being said, where it comes to the empire I'm planning on building, okay, this is something that I absolutely refuse to let happen, and why I will not own a corporation the way it's laid out right now. Okay, I'm warning you absolutely. If you're doing something, make sure you're in dominant control of it, because this was done by a major corporation, and I am not even remotely impressed with it. Now I have to actually go down a different road altogether. Let's just go back to search just on principle, just to double check. And we see what comes up. It's called just double checking to make certain. But that, of course, won't find anything. Because it can't find the name. I mean, let's face it, naming somebody by an Yldrbac would be absolutely rude. So we go looking for title and see what comes up. And that's interesting. Last updated August 16th. I definitely have to look into this. I'm going to have to do this. Now, this is what I was referring to about staying focused on your own prosperity. If you're looking at copyright, now my understanding is in Canada, once you've written something, and this is just my understanding, I have not done the research at this point. If you've written something, then you are looking at a situation where it's already copyrighted. I'm looking for the sheet of paper because I don't have it visible for me. I've got another one. This just does not impress me. But what the heck? Not entirely a shock. Anyway, make certain you've got an idea in your own head of what you're aiming for. Okay, of what feels right from your standpoint. Okay, you break it down into 15-minute to half-hour jobs, and I've got a whole list of emails I've got to set out. Okay, a lot of work I got to do in the office, but that's okay. I'll be back to that this morning. Okay, right about now. Now, this was an awful short one. Where are we? We are at the half-hour mark. Well, I think my throat's starting to pack it in, so not really surprising. So I think what I'm going to do is call it a real short. That was, for me, that's very disturbing. Finding out that my copyright is not actually registered, it looks like. I could have put a signed copyright on and not had anything sorted out there myself. I've done that on a lot of my books. But the reality of it is, now I will start pushing the issue and getting the absolute solid information down. Because I'm not going to get a straight answer out of these people at all. Which means, with the assistance of my executive assistant, we'll find out what's going on. And if it costs me a little money to get the paperwork to me, so be it. Okay, that's just the way that's going to go. Okay, but I'm cautioning you, especially if you're a writer, an artist, doesn't matter. Make absolutely certain that you know exactly what you've got, that you've got the solid paperwork in place. Now, I'm fortunate. I've got previous writing on these same titles from 15 years ago. Okay, so with that in mind, it's actually, I've got enough solid proof that says this is my writing, so I don't have that to worry about. But I'm weird that way. One of the advantages of being a professional pack rat, I kept almost everything. Okay. Now, what do we got here? Oh, I want to go back to this. And what are we looking at here? It would seem, I'm going to turn this on, so pardon the feedback. Don't have that to worry about. Okay, good. Don't need that. I just want to make sure it was still recording. But I've got a whole list of things that I've got to do, most of it revolving around writing today. That is book 3. I think that's being written in. Right now, I've got laid out on my painting desk over here. I've got a battle set up that I've got to write out that is 15 to 1 odds. Okay, now the way it writes out is anybody's guess at this point. But we'll see what happens. In the meantime, and I do appreciate you dropping in to see me. My throat's starting to seize, so I'm going to call it a day or a night, depending on how you call it. I wasn't planning on being in the first place. But if you like the video, absolutely give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. And I will do my best to be back a little later in the day, but I got to let my throat seal my throat. Apparently, I need my throat to get a little bit of a break. So, until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.